is an Unspoiled Network podcast.
This is Unspoiled, covering Doctor Who, Season 2, Episode 4, School Reunion. In this episode, so Giles, what's up? Good to see you again, buddy. I didn't know I missed you, but your unblinking face was very upsetting. Good job. Welcome to Unspoiled. Welcome to the show, everybody. I am Natasha.
I'm Jamie.
And yeah, so hi. This was great. I really liked this episode a lot. I know that there is a reference being made here because this lady is somebody that people would know of if they knew the rest of Doctor Who. I do not know anything about it. And yet, I still liked her and cared about her. So that's a really hard thing to pull off. So good job, show.
Yes, that's Sarah Jane Smith. She was another one of the really important companions. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know anything about her either when I originally saw this. So I Googled. You're not allowed to do.
Dumped her.
He did. He dropped her off and never came back.
Honestly. What? He doesn't apologize either.
No. He explains.
And
he explains to Rose.
Is garbage. Listen, I know you all like the Doctor and everything, but you all have to face facts that this man is trash.
Wow, that's fighting words.
He a bad one. He's over here explaining what he did to fucking Rose, not even the woman he did it to, and never apologizes to her, and is like, but I made you a new doggy, and that makes up for it. Guy, you need to stop and oh, you know that I can't spend the rest of my life with you. So what? That doesn't mean you don't just bounce without saying anything to somebody.
Yeah, and I haven't seen that episode, and I'm sure we have a couple of very knowledgeable listeners who fill us in the comments as soon as these episodes post. So I'm sure we will get a full explanation of what happened. All I could get was, the trivia that I was able to find, which was that he dropped her off, making it sound like he would be back, but then didn't come back. Or he dropped her off because he had to go to Gallifrey, which was his home planet, and humans weren't allowed there.
Okay.
But then he never came back. And maybe he didn't intend to not come back initially, but then things happened. I don't know what happened, because that's all stuff I've never seen.
Yeah, he's been back to Earth a few times. He could have looked her up.
True.
He could have sent a letter, for God's sake.
He says to her, because she's like, you regenerated, and he says, half a dozen times since the last time I saw you.
Yeah, he has a magical cell phone that Rose can use to call her mom from the future.
Yeah.
He's just, nope, not all right.
Sarah Jane did go on to have her own show after this. It's called The Sarah Jane Adventures.
I kind of thought this felt like what do they call that,
Backdoor pilot.
That's the one. Yeah. It felt like they were setting up something with her. Okay.
Yeah. And I did read that it's not like she was dropped off and then nobody saw her again until now. She did some radio plays that were Doctor Who as Sarah Jane. And she was, I think, in one of the Fifth Doctor's specials or something.
That's cool.
But it was the Fourth Doctor that she traveled with. And I don't know if she was his only companion for his run or not. But someone can tell us. I like that because David Tennant is such a huge Doctor Who fan. And, spent his life wanting to play the Doctor, but never really thinking he'd be able to do that because Doctor Who wasn't being made anymore. I felt how much he loved her come through, because it probably was a little bit of the fan in him. Like, that's Sarah Jane Smith. Oh my God.
Yeah. I definitely also got that. I was like, oh man, he must be on cloud 9 right now getting to meet this actress, because obviously she's from the old shows, and look at his face. Like,
Yeah.
he looked like a little kid that's getting to meet Superman at Six Flags. Like, it was just, he was so elated. It was adorable.
And K9, which was a thing on the old show too. So for a massive Doctor Who fan, getting to play the Doctor and getting to play with K9 was probably really fun for him too.
We are in a car.
Affirmative.
Yeah, that was pretty fun. Poor fucking Mickey, man.
Can I tell you how many times I've had to catch myself from calling Mickey a tin dog?
Oh no.
I oftentimes want to be like, he's not a tin dog.
That's messed up.
But I couldn't do it because we hadn't gotten there yet.
Yeah, he is just, like, this episode realizing that he's the tin dog, and then, like, getting volunteered to go on the thing, or not, but, like, volunteering himself, but Rose clearly not, like, wanting him there. Everything is awful, like, so awkward, and Mickey just, well, we'll get there. All right, let's start off with the beginning of this episode, in which we see a little girl saying that she was in English class and got a headache, and that the nurse sent her to him. I live in Ambrose Hall, the children's home, and he's no parents, no one to miss you. I see why the nurse sent you. And I'm like, what are you doing, buddy? And he invites her into his office because it's almost lunchtime, and apparently eats her. What is, because they're making oil. There's like this. Okay. I'm a little confused about some things. They're using these children as their souls, apparently, to like decrypt something. Mm-hmm. But also
the meaning of the
them?
universe. Eating some of them, the not smart ones.
Okay. And he
the
says
ones who,
when he sees her, like, poor thin child, so you would think that he doesn't want to eat a thin child. But he seems to be happy about the fact that she's thin, like, which, is that weird to anybody else? Like, is that just me that he mentions that? Like, that's a good thing? When he's about to eat her?
Yeah.
Is that, do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, it makes you think that something's going to happen to the chubby boy. Since he mentioned, oh, you're, poor thin child. Like, maybe this poor chubby kid is going to be targeted.
See, that makes the opposite. Like, if the way he said poor thin child, like he relished the words, made me think that the chubby boy had nothing to worry about because they only like to eat the skinny ones. But anyway, it doesn't matter. It was just like a weird little thing that I was like, oh, that's surprising. This is not like Hansel and Gretel where she's trying to fatten them up. Because I kind of thought for a second that he might be bringing her into a place where there's like cages. And he's like, oh, you're way too thin for me to eat yet, so I'm going to keep you in here where no one will miss you, and I will feed you until you are fat, and then I can eat you. But, spoiler alert, he just eats her right away.
Yeah. The oil is to help them get smarter.
But they are,
the
it's
children
like
get
toxic
smarter.
to them now.
Yes. So they're using it to, like, feeding it to the kids so that it improves their, like, brain function.
Gotcha.
And they can get hooked up to these computers and break this code.
Gotcha. Okay. Which, like, I would really dig that, oh, wait a second. You know what I'm realizing? They use the oil to make the kids smarter. So the fact that she's skinny means that she's probably not that smart because she hasn't eaten enough of it.
Yeah,
maybe.
So
she's, like, not valuable because she hasn't been, like, converted yet. I bet that's what it is. But yeah, I want some of this oil is what I'm saying.
It makes Rose smarter for a bit.
I feel like that's something you got to get hooked on, right? It's sort of like, what's that movie with the guy from A Star is Born? Who he, like, takes the pill to be smart, and then it's like, Bradley
Cooper. Yeah, they made a TV show out of that, too, and I tried to watch that movie and could not.
it was covered on the Flophouse, which is a podcast about bad movies. So yeah, I expect it was probably terrible.
I can't remember the name of it, but yeah, it was bad. I really liked Bradley Cooper too, and I was like, sorry, dude, can't do it. I'll just go watch Alias or something.
So let's talk about, like, it cuts from there. And I already said Anthony Stewart Head, who plays Giles on Buffy, he's so fucking creepy and reptilian in this role. It is very unnerving, and he's so good, and I love him so much.
He's so scene chewing, like scenery chewing. He's just relishing in, this is not Giles.
Yep.
I am an alien. Like, the way he moves, his physicality is just incredible. I love him so much.
Yeah, he is unblinking, and he moves his head in such a way that it feels bird-like, almost. Like, there's just something, he looks like a person, but you can immediately be like, that's not a person, though. Like, you aren't fooling anybody, buddy.
Yeah.
And we cut from him to the doctor coming in to teach a class. And saying physics 7 times. Physics.
You say it enough, it doesn't sound like a word anymore.
It's true. It doesn't sound like a word anymore because I don't know what it is and I don't understand it. But yeah, so he comes in and he teaches this class, and it's obvious, like, things have been set up, but we didn't see it. This is an unusual episode in that we don't start off on the TARDIS, like, landing wherever it is. We start off already here, and I really like that there's no, like, need for us to do the whole rigmarole. We're just going to get right into it, you know? And the fact that it is revealed a little bit later that Rose is a lunch lady, although in this country she's called a dinner lady. Nevertheless, it's really funny and really just, like, she's so irritated. Nothing quite, like, made me feel as undignified when I was, working a variety of different jobs as jobs that required me to wear a hairnet. That just fucking ruined my damn day. I hated it so much. Like, you know, I understood why, and I have very unruly hair, so I in particular should wear hairnets. I won't lie. There have been times cooking at home where I probably could have been using a hairnet, and I think I suffered for it. But, yeah, it's just, there's something about it that feels so incredibly, like, it's like a paper hat, you know? Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he's talking to these kids and asking questions about physics, and there is one particular kid that is able to answer all of his questions, no matter how bananas they are. And he seems to be, like, I don't think that he has a good measure yet on why he's here, right?
Right. He knows that something weird is happening because Mickey alerted them to this.
Right.
And it was that there was some, like, supposed UFO activity, and then there's some weird stuff happening at this school, and it's happened in a very short amount of time over the last couple of months. Mm-hmm. Okay. So the Doctor and Rose are trying to piece things together.
And nobody else in this class can answer his questions.
Yeah.
Which is part of what's sort of setting off his alarm bells. Like, they're saying, like, oh, the whole school is having better results on these tests. But this one kid is able to recite back answers as if he's a fucking calculator. And all the other kids are looking around at him like, really? What is happening here, dude? How the hell can you do that?
Well, what's confusing to me, honestly, is that shortly afterwards, one of the other teachers comes up to this girl in the cafeteria and says that she's moving to the top of the class because Milo has failed him. And Milo obviously is very smart. Mm-hmm. And if what they're trying to do is make these kids smarter, then why get rid of the kid who is smart? Unless it's not making them smarter, it's that it helps them concentrate. They want them to just be focused. Maybe Milo's just smart, but he wasn't eating the chips and staying focused.
Milo's the one that's answering all of his questions right here.
Yeah.
There's no way that that's just, I'm smart. Not that performance.
But they never explain what he did to fail this teacher unless this teacher just decided to eat him.
Maybe that's it. Maybe they absorb, like, their intelligence when they eat them?
Maybe.
And when they are really overperforming, they're like, yeah, yummy. Sorry, guys, I think FedEx or somebody at my door, but they can just leave it. But apparently, like, the oil that they're using for these chips is not the best, because the doctor makes a comment about how weird they taste when he's at lunch. But,
yeah.
Oh, this whole, like, thing with this basic, it's cooking oil, but somehow splashes out. And
it's not cooking oil, though.
But it can function that way?
Yeah.
Like, they can deep fry things in it, I guess?
Yeah. But it's got a name. It's like the same name that they have, the aliens themselves.
Okay.
It's like it's their product, like their oil, but they like evolved past it and now it's toxic to them.
Right. Yeah, so these are like the ultimate colonizers, right? Because they just like come in to whole civilizations and decimate them and take the best parts and then leave.
Yeah, and maybe you're right about the he wants to eat the kid because the kid is really super smart.
Yeah.
Because later when they're like when the aliens are trying to kill the group, he says about the doctor, you can kill him, but bring me his brain. Right.
Eat him if you must, but keep his brain. Bless him. If you must. Ugh. Can't get good help nowadays. But yeah, and they're all like, all the kids are put onto these computers with this weird spinning like dice that has all of these different symbols on it, and they are decrypting whatever this is. Apparently we need all of these kids in order to do it. And they are focused as fuck. I aspire to be this kind of focused with anything. I know that there are drugs out there that'll do this, and I would like it to not be drugs. If it's French fries, so be it. I'm not saying I would say no to French fries that make me more focused and smart. But yeah, it's a pretty interesting little like, these kids today and their computers, am I right? Except that it's like aliens making them. And I keep wanting to call the principal Giles, and I think I'm just going to go with that. We good with that? Can we all just agree that that's what we're going to do?
So not Giles.
Giles is leading in a woman that we have not met yet. And if you are a fan, I'm sure you see her and you're like, oh shit. But I did not do the oh shit. But he's leading her in because she's going to be doing an expose on the school because of how amazing their performance has been. And apparently Giles is vain enough to not see anything wrong with this. He's just like, oh, lovely. Someone's here to praise me. That seems right. And meanwhile, the doctor is in the break room talking to another one of the teachers about how everything has gone down. He says, Finch arrived 3 months ago. Next day, half the staff got flu. Finch replaced them with that lot, except for the teacher you replaced, and that was just plain weird. Her winning the lottery like that. How's that weird? She never played. She said the ticket was posted through her door that night. The world is very strange. I wish that the doctor needed to take my place as a podcaster, for some reason.
I would say me too, but David Tennant has a podcast now.
Of course he does. I'm in direct competition with him, I'm sure.
It's not about Doctor Who.
Fucking David Tennant and his podcast and his glasses and his freckles.
Yeah, I wish it was a video podcast, but it's not. He just interviews his famous friends, and it's quite enjoyable.
So, who are his favorite? Like, give me 2 names of people that he's interviewed.
So far, there's been 2 episodes. The first one was Olivia Colman, who was in Broadchurch with him, and is in the movie The Favorite. She's nominated for an Oscar.
Right. Okay.
And then the second one was Whoopi Goldberg, and I don't know how he and Whoopi Goldberg are friends, but that interview was so lovely.
How weird.
I just was so amused. She's very funny without trying to be, and just very frank and honest about herself and her life, and I just loved it. So far, I am impressed with his little podcast. And he even says, like, I don't know why I'm doing this, but my wife thought it was a good idea.
Well, you heard it here first, folks. Don't listen to his podcast. It sucks. Listen to Unspoiled forever.
Oh, yeah. Listen to us first.
Thumbs down from JD. She hated it.
Listening to him talk in his natural accent is not pleasing at all.
Oh, God. I just, like... What if... You know what would have been amazing? You know how Ross Geller starts teaching and uses an accent to keep the attention of the students? What if I had started off Unspoiled with an accent and I just fucking had to keep that charade up this whole time?
If it was as bad as Ross's accent, it'd be very funny.
Oh my God. I'm just like, what?
At one point he says, laboratory! Startling discovery!
Oh man,
I watch Friends too much.
That. Guys, when you recommend Unspoiled to your friends, tell them that I'm British, and I'm going to just go from here on out. Just tell them not to listen to the beginning episodes. And I'll just, when people are like, well, where'd this accent come from? I'll be like, what accent? Act like they're crazy. I've always talked like this. I don't know what you're hearing.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I don't know what you're on about. All right.
Pip, pip. Moving on.
So, and yeah, I mean, all these other teachers are just very unnerving. They're all so stiff and creepy. Ugh, I hate it. So yeah, Sarah Jane Smith, she is introduced. Giles is so happy, like the smile on his face as he's introducing her. I love so much that this like evil alien is that, what's the word I want? That subject to flattery, I guess, that he will fall for this. Like, it's just really kind of an adorable, weird weakness that's unexpected.
Vanity transcends race? What? I guess. Alien races?
I mean,
I don't know what other term.
I guess if the whole thing is that their alien race has been trying to perfect itself by stealing from other races, somebody coming in to be like, wow, you are really amazing. Can I do a story on you? Is basically confirming that your life's work is working out for you.
Yeah.
Right? They're basically like, wow, you are like the best out there is, and I need to use you as a model and instruction for everyone else.
Yeah, and Giles is like, that is correct.
That sounds right to me. And yeah, so then we have David Tennant being introduced to her and him like glowing so much that he looks like he is about to levitate off the floor. He is sincerely so excited and happy that is some A1 like circumstantial and acting like perfect storm there to indicate to me, somebody who does not know that she is significant to this universe, that she obviously has a history with him. You know, like, I don't need to know what it is. I don't need to know anything, but I sure fucking know it's true. And that's all I need.
And he says his name is John Smith, and she says, oh, I once knew a man who went by that name. And he's like, it's a common name.
Yep. It is a common name. But she does not suspect who he is because it is such a common
Well, why would
name.
she?
Yeah. And I have the screen paused right now on the look on his face as she walks away, and I just can't. Like, he is so thrilled. It's really adorable. Because he just didn't expect to run into her, because apparently he forgot all about her and forgot that she existed and forgot that she lives in London and doesn't care. But, okay. Listen. This has not been that long ago. She still looks good.
She does. She died last year, I think.
Oh, bummer.
Yeah, it was really sad.
So then we see this kid who sees something weird going on in the computer lab and goes in there and walks in on a teacher jerking off to porn, essentially. Except that he's eating a student, but, close enough.
I have to say, the faces on these bat creatures is really funny to me. They've got these incredibly long but square snouts. Mm-hmm. And I just am very amused by it. I like the design.
There's something very Rottweiler-esque about their overall look. They're like dog-like. I don't know.
Yeah, a little bit. Dog bats.
Dog bats.
Bat dog.
Dog bats. Or you could do bat dog. Or you could do that, I guess. So, yeah, and it turns out that Mickey is the one who summoned them here. And Rose says something about how she thought maybe he had just summoned her because he wanted to see her. And he's like, do you really think that I would make up an emergency just to see you? And I'm like, I really had to stop and think about that one for a second, to be honest. And then I finally decided to give him the benefit of the doubt and be like, no, I really don't think that he would do that, because he seems to, despite being like really jealous and everything, still appreciate how life or death the situations always are. Mm-hmm. It's not like he doesn't take what's going on seriously enough. So I don't think that he would invent an emergency. But no. I can understand her suspecting that. So this is when they explore the school at night and come across all of these friggin' teachers hanging from the ceiling asleep. Mm-hmm. Because Rose had apparently said earlier, like, I always thought when I was a kid that teachers just slept in the school, which, did you have that? Because I definitely did. I figured that they stayed in their file cabinets and got out in the morning right before the bell rang, and that was about it.
No, I think I just never thought about them as being anything other than a teacher, and I never thought about them outside of the classroom. Mm-hmm. It just never popped in my head, like, did they go home and have dinner and have lives? It just, to me, they were like, they existed in the classroom and then they didn't exist anywhere else.
Yeah. Yeah, the minute you walk out of there, they just, like, evaporate into the air. Like basically. A hologram that only you can see.
Yeah, I feel, I mean, I'm sorry, former teachers, but I never thought about you guys once I was not in front of you.
I don't think they would. I think they'd prefer that over anything, probably, right? Like...
Probably.
So as they discover these teachers hanging upside down as bats, Sarah is wandering around in the basement and comes across the TARDIS. Mm-hmm. And is just like, are you fucking kidding me? And backs away from it, and the Doctor is standing right there.
Can we go back to the bats hanging from the ceiling for a second?
Yeah, of course.
Did you ever see The Lost Boys?
Yes.
Do you know when they're hanging from the ceiling and they have those little bat toes?
Yes, I forgot about that.
This just reminded me of that. For no other reason than, like, they were human. Why did they have little bat toes? Okay, sorry.
It reminds me of, I don't know how much of Song of Ice and Fire you listened to, but one point...
I listened to the whole thing.
Remember Brendan saying, what if you turned into a werewolf, but only in the foot?
No.
So it's kind of like that. They turned into bats, but only in the foot.
So you still have your body, but you suddenly have paws?
You suddenly have bat feet, or you have a wolf paw. One wolf paw. He says the foot, not feet. So
what was he referring to?
We were just talking about, because, there were supernatural things in that world, I think, and he was, theorizing on how that worked, and what if it wasn't complete or something. I don't even remember how it started off.
Oh my god, that's so weird.
But yeah, then the whole idea of, if you got bitten, but, there was enough, there was enough neosporin in it to get most of it out, but not, all of it.
Put some tussin on it.
The full moon, your hair is a lot darker and fuller all of a sudden. Just weird. Yeah. So anyway, she is both very happy to see him and very angry.
Mm-hmm.
I thought you had died. I waited for you and you didn't come back, and I thought you must have died. And he says, I lived. Everyone else died. What do you mean? Everyone died, Sarah. I can't believe it's you. And they move right on. Right on. I can't believe it's you. He just said, everyone died, Sarah. And she's just like, yeah, well. Wow, it's you.
It's
Girl.
Not that kind of show where they're going to dig real deep into the trauma caused to poor Sarah Jane Smith. Or the doctor.
Too
much. Yeah. There was a time war, and I lived, and everyone else died.
You don't have to dig real deep into it because there's a bat scream a second later. So, But
It's
you could
not a
have her
bat
just
scream.
be like, what? Serious? I'm so sorry. Oh my God, what happened? And then you just get cut off then. Instead of having her seem heartless as hell.
It's a Mickey scream.
Oh, well. Same.
It's Mickey found a bunch of rats. Some vacuum-packed rats. And
yuck.
it scared him.
And this is when Rose and Sarah meet for the first time, and Rose is not a fan.
Mm-mm.
She is
Not at
mighty irritated because for some reason she thought that she was the first person that the doctor had ever brought with him on his travels.
Which is crazy because he did say, as Eccleston, he did say, I've traveled with a lot of people. So
Did he?
It shouldn't be a surprise to her that there have been... He's 900 years old.
Yeah. For her to genuinely think that she's the first one in a millennia, that is some fucking hubris, lady.
I think maybe part of it is that she thinks she's special. She has a different kind of connection with him, and then she sees him with Sarah, and the connection is very familiar to her. That looks like we look.
Mm-hmm.
That connection, that bond, is very similar, and I thought that I was different.
Spoiler
Maybe
alert.
I'm not.
I'm one of thousands. I don't remember your name. You mean nothing to me. Is what I think she's picturing in her head here now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Mickey's funny though because he's like the Mrs. and the X. Welcome to every man's worst nightmare.
I don't and Mickey says something to her about I'm not going to say I told you so, but I do have a very special I told you so dance that I'm waiting to break out, which was a pretty fucking good line, but I don't know what he's saying he told her so about.
I think that he tried in earlier episodes to sort of imply that this with her and the doctor is not something special.
Did he?
I mean,
I
don't
just
know.
remember him being this is not something permanent. You can't do this forever. You're a person.
Yeah.
And you belong at home. But I don't know. I don't remember him specifically just being But maybe for him that is all of a piece.
Mm-hmm.
Because this woman was abandoned with no warning, and he never came back for her, and he never apologized, and he never contacted her again. So that sure could happen to you, Rose. How about that? And
I suppose it could.
that is just how many of us have dated somebody and we got like their version of events and then we find out some other shit that they left out. Mm-hmm. And you're like suddenly recontextualizing everything and realizing that you thought they were the good guy and now it's not so crystal clear after all. And maybe they weren't. And now, did they tell the truth about this other thing that they said happened? Or was there some mitigating circumstance there too? And that's where Rose is a little bit, I think, where she's just like, wow, I never even thought that he is somebody who would be capable of just leaving a person behind forever and never coming back for them. But now that I know that he is capable of that, that changes everything I think about him.
Well, I wonder what she thought. Like, she says to him when they go to New Earth that she loves traveling with him. She could do this forever. Like, she's made it really clear that she's not going to leave him.
Right.
But I don't think she ever really thought about the fact that he probably has had to leave people. And she certainly never thought he would leave her.
Right.
Because she really does think that this bond she has with him is incredibly special. And maybe it is. Mm-hmm. But he's still an alien and 900 years old.
Right.
And he says to her, like, you are going to age and you will die.
Yep.
And I won't.
He says humans decay, which just seems fucking rude.
Well, he's rude.
Know?
We've established this.
That's true. That's true.
But I like that he says, you can spend your life with me, the rest of your life with me, but I can't spend the rest of my life with you. Mm-hmm. And that's really heartbreaking, but it's something she needs to hear. Because even if they do spend the rest of her life together, then she dies and he's alone again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And also, you'd think that in 900 years, the Doctor would have figured out a better way to handle this fucking shit by now.
Well, some people would just stop having companions because it hurts too much. But then there's people like me. Like, every time I've had a pet die and I'm heartbroken by it, and my dad, then I'll get another pet. My dad will be like, I don't understand why you keep doing this to yourself.
I mean you know what I mean by handling it.
I know, but I'm just saying, I feel like he could just be like, I'm not going to do this to myself anymore. It hurts too much. But then he loves people. He keeps meeting people he wants to spend time with. So he just keeps going through the pain. And maybe it lessens the pain by dropping them off and not coming back.
For him.
Very
selfish.
Yes, it is.
I'm very mad at him that he doesn't apologize properly here. This is the only opportunity he's going to get.
Well, that's not. Maybe not.
Maybe
he'll
not,
see her
but
again.
He should treat it that way because he doesn't know, and he obviously isn't going to put in the effort.
Yeah.
Listen, I'm very angry at him. This is going to be a running theme, I think. So.
What did you think of K9 when they first reveal him?
I didn't know what to think. I was like, is that secretly a Dalek in there? What's going on? Anything that's a robot, I'm very suspicious of at this point. And then I started to come around on him and feel like he's almost like Bob in Dresden Files, because Bob is like a spirit of intellect, but is like low-key almost a computer in some ways. But, and he has, obviously K9 has his own personality in his way, despite having a limited number of responses.
We are in a car.
I just love that. And he's figured that shit out, and he's just fucking waiting for Mickey to catch up. Jesus Christ, Mickey. Get it together.
I can't modulate my words. I'm being sarcastic. We are in a car.
You goober. I would like it if you were outfitted with some really old-fashioned, like, slang insults. Did you see Into the Spider-Verse?
No, we're going to see it on Saturday, I think.
Oh, God, I can't believe you haven't seen it yet. It's so good. But there's a point where somebody's like some real hard-boiled biscuit boxers is the way that somebody is describing some bad guys. And I was
biscuit boxers.
Yeah, some real hard-boiled biscuit boxers. And that's what I mean. Like, we need K9 to have some weird insults like that he can throw at people. That it's like, it'll buy time, too, because people will just stand stock still and be like, wait, what did he just say about me? Did he call me a biscuit boxer? And then he's exploded the place, and haha, it's too late. I
was very like, okay, I'll ride show with this fucking robot dog when I first saw it. And then he came around on me and I was like, oh, yeah, I get it. It's kind of cute.
Yeah, I enjoyed him like sacrificing himself. It felt like that was, it felt like it was significant to people who are longtime fans.
I also really like his little ears that look like dog ears, but they're like little radio antenna.
Yeah.
It's a very clever design.
Okay, so yeah, piercing scream, it says on the screen. To go back, we go to the rats that are piled up in the closet there, and Sarah says something about how obviously they're for dissecting, and Rose being like, obviously they're not, because we don't do that anymore, because it's not 1955, you old biddy. And I was like,
says, what are you, from the Dark Ages?
Yeah.
We didn't do rats in biology.
My class did frogs, but I missed that day, so I never had to do it.
I did the frog. I actually had to do the frog twice. Ew. Because I did it in middle school and then I did it in high school biology. And also in high school biology, they had a fetal pig and I would not.
Yeah, no, I couldn't do a pig.
And luckily we were in groups and I honestly can say I did not look at that pig. I took all the notes, made sure that we knew everything we needed to know for the test. And I did not participate in the dissection of that little fetal pig because was very upsetting. Yeah, it's is that something that is done anymore? I believe so, because even at my high school, I was in biology and I never went past that, but you could go after that was chemistry and physics, or you could take anatomy and physiology. And I did not take that. And they dissected cats.
Oh my God.
And I was like, I'm not fucking taking that class. They're dissecting cats in that place? No. And I found that to be really upsetting. Like, where are you getting the cats?
Yeah.
And why cats?
Yeah, maybe they're donated, like, from, the pound or something, where if they have to put them down.
I'm sure, but it was too much. I don't even know where the classroom was because I refused to even learn that much. Like, I'm not even walking past where it might be.
Yeah. Yeah, no thanks.
So, yeah, I don't know now because I think they do a lot of, computer simulation now.
Interesting. That's a good idea.
Yeah, which I feel would be much less traumatizing. Although I did really enjoy looking at the inside of the frog, I have to say. It was interesting. But that's a frog. I wouldn't do it now. I'd feel bad. I mean, I felt bad then. But I'd feel worse now, I think.
Yeah, there's something about it being a mammal a lot of the time that can just make it just be like, no. And not that, frogs inherently deserve less rights to live or anything than a pig does, but you guys know what I'm saying here. With
It was upsetting, but not as upsetting as the pig to me.
So anyway, they run the fuck out of there once they see the hanging bat teachers. And one of those hanging bat teachers was awake when they left. It played possum while they were there. But is that the one that's Giles? Do we never see Giles transform? I think Giles has evolved past having to... Because they say something about how the other teachers have basically like a glamour where they can look like a person, but they haven't evolved yet to be able to stay in that form. But gotcha. Giles, being the leader, is able to stay in that form. He doesn't have to turn into a bat. Gotcha. Okay, right. Which is really funny because, a human form is not more advantageous than a bat form.
No.
I don't know why they would want to evolve out of it.
The intelligence is probably better.
I see. Because I want to be able to fly, man. Come on.
Well, and what's confusing to me is that he can transform because when he kills that girl at the beginning, we see the shadow of wings.
Right.
But I guess he doesn't have to. And these guys and ladies, they're all projecting a human form, but they're actually still like mostly bat.
And even though he doesn't, like, even though he has evolved and can look like a person, when they use the fire alarm,
yeah, it still hurts him.
Yeah, so obviously he still has this like hypersensitivity that he did as a bat. So not everything has evolved very well. What I'm saying is, C+, good effort, needs revision. So they're
called Krillitanes.
Krillitanes.
Yeah.
They meet K9, who has broken down, and he's asking, like, didn't you try and get him repaired? And she's like, come on, where am I going to do that? And they're out here in full view of Giles, who is on the roof with one of his bat friends, his bat buddies. And he is waiting for the opportunity to strike. It's sort of amazing that he's going to strike right out in the open on the street. But I'm here for it. I'm always a fan of when the bad guys do not seem to give a fuck about blowing their own cover. Mm-hmm. Like, it can drive me crazy, narratively speaking, like the continuity of it. But I also find it to be really fun. And especially when a show lets bystanders, civilians, so to speak, see them, that can also be fun. And they're just staring around like, what in the fuck is happening? But yeah, this is a very like Gargoyles scene, because he's like standing up on the edge of this roof, and then this like bat guy lands next to him, and the school has all of these like columns on it, so it looks like he's on the edge of, you know, a cathedral or something somewhere. It's pretty good.
There's a nice touch where he crouches down, and the bat also crouches down.
Ooh, I didn't notice that.
Yeah, it's like the bat just sort of mimics his physicality, or it's like he can't help himself but to sort of do a bat-like thing. Right. It's really good.
And this is the conversation with the doctor and Sarah saying, well, you needed to get on with your life. And she says, you were my life. And I was like, oof, girl, don't say that shit right now. Don't say it. You look sad and pathetic. And even if you are sad and pathetic, there's no need to look it. But she's past the point of really giving a shit about that right now. Mm-hmm. But yeah. And he, again, does not apologize and just tries to be like, well, look at you, though. You're investigating. You're doing really well. And I'm like, you need to stop patronizing her, sir. But, and she looks very unsatisfied at the whole conversation, as she should.
He says, I left you in Croydon, I think. And she's like, you left me in Aberdeen.
Yeah, he doesn't even remember.
That's close, right? Except, I believe Aberdeen is in Scotland. And where he thought he left her was London.
Oh, wow.
Not close.
I mean, I guess in the context of the entire universe, it's close. But, yeah.
Sure. Oh, close enough. Except you left her with probably no money. How did she get home?
Yeah, the whole fact that he doesn't even remember where he left her. Like, listen, guys, he's not recommending himself to me. I'm just saying.
I didn't take it that he didn't remember where he left her. I took it that he thought he left her in one place, but it had actually ended up being a different place, and he just never knew that.
You're giving him a lot of benefit of the doubt here, lady.
I am, but that's how I always took it. Was he thought like, no, I dropped you off at home, and she's like, nah, not really. It was Aberdeen, and he just didn't know that the TARDIS had, landed in the wrong place.
Gotcha. All right. Well, I don't believe you, and I think that's not what happened at all, but so be it.
I don't know how callous the fourth Doctor was. All I know about him is he had that very long scarf and a hat.
We were about to get so many letters. Okay, so, I saw just now the part where he crouches down and he does that, like, little head twist thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty spooky, actually. I like it. He's doing a bit of an orcish thing, kind of. What about their legs? They don't need those.
Oh, poor Merry and Pippin.
This is when Mickey finds out that he's a tin dog.
I'm not a tin dog.
He is, though, a little bit. He's determined not to be, and he's going to try and do better, but at the moment. And yeah, this is when they launch their attack, but the bat seems to just, like, swoop and not actually, like, go after them.
I think it's just trying to scare them.
Is that it?
Yeah.
But what is that accomplishing? Because they already are scared. They already know what they are.
I don't know.
I thought that it was like...
they really wanted the visual of that bat flying in front of the moon.
That was rad, I will say, because it's very Halloween-y. Mm-hmm. Having the bat in front of the moon visual, followed by landing next to Giles in, like, a full suit with his slick back hair on the top of a building that's got a bunch of columns. It's a pretty... It's like the cover of a metal album, somehow.
Minus the guy in the suit.
All right, fine. He'd be wearing something else, but he should be wearing a suit because it's much, like, more visually arresting.
Do you like the bat design better than the crazy dragon design?
Oh, for sure, yeah.
Okay.
The bat design, it feels like they're aware this is goofy, and they're just like, yeah, it's goofy. The dragon design, you were putting that in the middle of an episode that was very serious.
Mm-hmm.
That is not... I'm going to judge everything more harshly on those terms, you know?
Yeah.
And also there was something, like, about the design of it that felt like they were trying to have their cake and eat it too, where they wanted to be like, well, we're going to make it scary, but also, like, sort of indistinct when we want it to be. And then we're going to let you be able to see everything all of a sudden for no reason. And it was like, I felt like it wasn't consistent the way that they looked.
Okay.
But the bats, it's, you know, you get the same thing every time. And that is a Rottweiler. So, all right. So yeah, this is the meet that, takes place at the pool between the Doctor and Brother Lasser. Is it Lasser?
Lasser?
He is just superb in this scene. I love it so much. Everything about it. The way he tilts his head, like I said, the fact that he barely blinks at all. His skin looks so shiny and unnatural. Even the way he, like, holds his mouth as he talks. Mm-hmm. It's just... He was clearly having a really good time with this.
Yes, he completely fleshed out this character that was a one and done.
Yep. I think, too, there's, like, something about the movement of his upper body along with his head as if he hasn't quite gotten used to having a neck. Like,
well, the Doctor says the last time he saw this race, they had, like, human heads but giraffe necks.
Right.
So you might be right about that maybe Anthony Stewart had really put a lot of thought into he's just getting used to this form.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. Wow. That's fun. Yeah, if you're going to do it, fucking do it, man. Put your all into it. Be crazy with it.
He tells the Doctor that what the Doctor sees as a human is just a morphic illusion. That's what they called it. And that he calls the Time Lords a race of pompous, dusty senators afraid of change and chaos and now all but extinct.
Yeah, all but extinct. I feel like there's another Time Lord out there. Doctor keeps thinking he's the only one, but I don't know. I think there might be another one.
Huh. I mean, they're not extinct if there's still one.
But he's saying extinct to the Doctor. Like,
yeah.
I don't know. And like I said, the Doctor keeps on being like, well, I'm the last one. You thought that there was only that one Dalek left, and you were wrong about that, son, so...
Well, that is true.
As far as I know, what led to the whole deal with the, his race dying was, like, took place all on the one planet, right?
I'm not entirely clear on the Time War, where it did take place on Gallifrey, because he says Gallifrey has been destroyed, and everyone died, and it was with the Daleks, but I would imagine that some of it took place off-planet? I'm not clear. Someone will definitely let us know.
Because I feel like there's, like... Basically, what it comes down to for me is he is able to travel so far and wide that the idea that nobody else got away feels really unlikely. But I don't know the circumstances of it. So, you know.
Yeah.
So who knows is really what it comes down to. I don't. And yeah, this dude is pretty confident that whatever happens, the Doctor is going to wind up joining forces with him in the end. Which, I was really like, oh, really? And then once it comes down to it, obviously the Doctor is tempted, but does not, because he is talked out of it by Miss Sarah, who is talking some sense. And speaking of Sarah, this is when she and Rose have their first, like, one-on-one conversation.
This is my favorite scene.
This is pretty, like, I like the fact that they sort of realize that they're, like, basically fighting over a guy.
Yeah.
And this is really not worth it. We are better than this. And then they start to commiserate on how ridiculous he can be.
Yep.
And it turns into just, which is precisely what you do, right? If you met somebody's new fling, you would want to know, does he still do that fucking thing? I would want to know. I have had nightmares that I've met Brendan's new wife and that she did not want to, like, gossip with me, and I was really disappointed. These are my priorities. But yeah, it's cool that they, like, try and join forces, and by the end, when the Doctor invites her to continue on with them, Rose is not against it. Which I feel like she really would have been if you asked her, a couple scenes ago. She would have been like, excuse me?
Yeah. Well, Sarah's very likable.
She is, yes, definitely. She's got a real vibe to her.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, by the time he rejoins them, the two of them are, like, rolling on the floor laughing at him, but he does not know that.
Can I tell you, I have a piece of trivia about this.
Please.
So, let me find it. Okay. In one scene, Rose and Sarah break up with laughter when the Doctor enters the room after spending several minutes comparing notes on the Doctor. Mm-hmm. To get a realistic reaction, David Tennant wore a fake mustache unbeknownst to the actresses as he entered the scene. This is why Billie Piper points at him in the episode. Their reaction was caught in one take.
Aww. I love the fact that they were able to burst out laughing like that just over a fake mustache. There's something very charming about that. All it took was a fake mustache, and she's pointing and cracking up like this is the best joke she's ever heard.
Yeah.
I like it. So they wind up sort of coming to what's the word I want? An accord, I guess.
Yes, an understanding.
Yeah. The look on his face.
They've bonded.
Yeah. They have. That's it. Bonded. They've formed a bond. And then we go to, brothers, we must initiate the final phase. Get the children inside and seal the school. It is time for us to become gods.
It's never a good sign for the one trying to be a god when you're like, okay, now it's time to become gods. Like, it's never going to work out well for you.
Do you mean just because you actually, like, said it out loud? Like, you use the words become a god and it's just, like, kind of
and
like
also
jinxing it?
The arrogance of it. Like, okay, probably not, because something's going to fuck that up for you. Otherwise, we'd all just become gods. It was so easy. We'd all do it.
I love that. If it was that easy, everyone would do it. So,
I mean, wouldn't you?
I really don't. Would I? Why would I want that?
I don't know. You're
That's
the one who
always...
says you thirst for power. I'm the one that's like, someone else can have it.
I thirst for power like in the mortal coil. I have very low aspirations. I'd like, maybe a channel on cable. Okay. I don't know. Maybe a clothing line. I know. A line of planners. That would be pretty good, actually. But yeah, as far as like being a god, that's not exactly like an Instagram god, maybe. But I'm not trying to get worshipped. That just feels like a lot of pressure and expectation.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Although if I could be a god of like something specific, like if I could be a god of like hygge culture where everything is just cozy all the time, that would be pretty good. I might be down for something like that. It's like, well, you worship me by drinking hot cocoa, wrapping up in a blanket, and putting on some fuzzy socks.
That's kind of a religion I could get behind.
Yeah, like I worship soft. That sounds good to me.
God of soft.
Yeah.
Soft god. You're a soft god. Not a full god, just a soft one.
You don't need to say it like that. That's disrespectful, Jamie.
It's not. It's like a soft open. We're just going to test it.
You're a soft god. It's like I'm not disciplining my followers enough.
Well, not if you're the god of fuzzy socks. Where's the discipline needed? You're wearing a coarse material.
Yeah, if they weren't in like putting in enough effort into the coziness, then I would have to do something, right? So what's the punishment there?
What is the punishment?
Probably I would make them, what's the word I want? Lay on like a bed of thorns or something and be like, yeah, I bet you wish it was cozy now. I bet you'll appreciate those fuzzy socks now.
It's harsh.
Or I'd make them like eat Marmite straight out of the jar. Yeah.
My stepdad would eat that.
Something that's just like the opposite of cozy and happy. Something that's just really like, I'm trying to think, what's really like a nails on a chalkboard sort of situation, or like, you're going to have to dig your hands in the dirt and then do everything for the rest of the day without washing your hands.
That would be torture. I would hate that.
Yeah. It's like just
not even digging, just making me keep my hands dirty. It would drive me insane.
Yeah. That'd be nasty. Ugh. And just the whole texture and everything, like...
Yeah.
So, I would be a vengeful god.
You know what's worse than dirty is sticky. If your hands had to be sticky.
Yeah, I would make you, like, cut Christmas tree limbs down all day, and then you can wash the sap off your hands at the end of the day.
That's like a pleasant thing made terrible.
Yeah.
Oh, I love this tree. Oh, crap.
Yeah, and you're going to hand the tree over to somebody who's doing hygge correctly for their Christmas scene. They get the benefit of it, and you have to do all the shitty labor.
And you have to keep the sap on your hands.
Yeah. Yeah, I like this. I feel like this all really works. Like, have you ever cut up butternut squash? You know how, like, the juice of it gets on your hands and gets stuck? Have you ever had that? And it's so weird. But butternut squash soup, when it's all creamy, is like really huga. So yeah, that'd be the punishment, is like you have to cut up all the butternut squash and then not wash your hands.
I love squash, all kinds of squash and pumpkins. And I love pulling the seeds out of them so I can roast them. But there's something about that stringy stuff that makes my hands itch a little bit. And so I love getting the seeds, but it's so unpleasant afterwards because my hands get so itchy. And I don't break out or anything. It's just, there's something about the enzymes or something. It just affects me. So yeah, that would be a little bit of like, this is pleasing to you, but also it really sucks, doesn't it?
Uh-huh. And then if I was feeling like really generous, I'd let you have a cup of soup.
Oh, thanks.
Maybe. But, depends on how good you are.
You have to also make the person make the soup, so they have to smell it.
Although I do think that when I'm the one that winds up having to cook something, I wind up not wanting to eat it in the end. A lot of the time, I'm just like, oh, I'm sick of this. Not always,
I get that.
But a lot of times. All right, so we have this little kid who watches all of the other kids get taken into one of the computer rooms. I guess they murdered all the teachers who weren't bats.
Yeah, they bring them into another room and kill them all.
That's pretty rough. It's a pretty high body count. Like, there was like 8 of them.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have all of these kids snapping to attention and doing their decrypting of whatever, as a black man in a suit, pinstriped suit, watches over them with a smug smirk on his face. And is this when the doctor, gets confronted with his choice? Because it's interesting. Oh, yeah, it is a little bit later because, Giles is like, well, you could save everyone. And I'm like, yeah, you are leaving out the fact that all those teachers are already dead, but okay. He's stacking that deck a little bit in the doctor's mind. Who knew that a guy who eats children would be dishonest? I'm shocked and appalled.
Is this where we have Mickey with the K9 in the car?
Yes.
And
because the little kid tries to run outside and the doors are all locked. Yeah, and Mickey is like, oh, we need a tool so that we can break it up. And finally, K9 is like, we are in a car. And he's like, oh, we're in a car. Oh, Mickey, you precious little dum-dum.
Yep.
And so, yeah, he, drives through the front of the school and busts it open so that this kid can get out. Meanwhile, Rose and the doctor and Sarah are trying to figure out what to do with these computers, like how it's working, what exactly they're trying to do. Why use children? Can't they use adults? No, it's got to be children. The God Maker needs imagination to crack it. They're not just using the children's brains to break the code. They're using their souls, which is a weird concept. Mm-hmm. But I rather like it. There's an episode of Venture Brothers in which somebody asks one of the doctors what powers one of his machines, and he makes this really murmured response, and he's like, "Excuse me," and he's like, "The soul of an orphan." The guy is like, "Oh, what?" So yeah, this has some precedent, is what I'm saying. This came first, I'm sure, from that episode, but still. And this is when, what's his face walks in, Giles. And he says, the paradigm solved, we can shape the universe and improve it. And the doctor says, the whole creation with the face of Mr. Finch? And he says, well, all you're trying to do is keep going with what we've already got, as if this is so great. And we could still do a lot of good. And then says, we can figure this out, but you could give us wisdom and temper us and give us ideas. you could save entire civilizations. Perganon, Asinta, he names a couple places. Perganon, Asinta, your own people. Which I'm sure means something to longtime fans. And Standing Tall, the Time Lords Reborn, which I don't know whether he means that they could go back in time and undo it.
I think that is what he means, and the Doctor knows you can't do that.
Right. Because he would have, because that's like, you
Right.
know, square one, right?
Yeah. If he could do that, he would have done that. He lost his planet, lost all of his people. Like, if he could go back and change that, he would have done it by now.
So I guess the implication here is just that you can't do it as you are because you'll fuck up like the continuum or will, you know, cause a rip in time. But if you were a god, you could pull that off no problem. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Basically. And then to try and convince the two ladies here, they're like, you could basically live forever and travel with him forever. And neither of you would ever wither and die. And I was like, it's a pretty good argument. It's pretty compelling.
He's a villain. I wouldn't trust it.
Listen, I'm not saying it would not be a monkey's paw situation. But considering that the both of them are afraid of getting old and being abandoned for a newer, younger model, which is apparently like his thing, that's a pretty, you know, that's getting at the heart of your fears.
Yeah, sure. It's saying the things that will tempt you the most, except that he's just going to eat them.
You don't know that.
Oh, yeah, I have no evidence so far that he's going to eat people.
I don't know about, I want to know how because like, there's this brief scream and then silence, and I want to know how they eat people, because their mouths aren't that big. Do they like rip their throat out? There's no blood.
I don't know, maybe they have mouths like snakes where they can like retract their jaw or unhinge their jaw and just swallow things whole.
Huh, interesting. I like that idea. That's pretty freaky. But this is when Sarah's like, things are supposed to end. That's the way the world should work. And the Doctor throws a chair at the, what I guess is sending the signal to all of the other computers because they all go blank at once. Mm-hmm. And ends the program from running. And I love Giles just like hangs his head in this really like, oh, damn it sort of way.
But I think it's just in that room because Mickey later goes and unplugs the computer and like saves a bunch of kids.
Oh, yeah, that's right, because they're still going in the other room.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. So he winds up opening his mouth in his creepy way to send out the bat signal to his buddies.
He must have had so much fun. Make
Make
the craziest face you can make. Maybe your mouth a little wider. Can you do it a little wider? Yeah, that's good right there.
I weirdly enjoy how the bat monsters all are like different colors. Mm-hmm. Like there's, you know, the one guy who's like this kind of leathery, like black, but almost like a charcoal gray. Yeah. And then there's these other couple ones that are like pinkish, white. Mm-hmm. There's one that's like yellow. I don't know. I kind of enjoy that detailing. Makes them look like cats or something.
Yeah, it's nice because it's like they didn't just copy and paste on their computer program when they created these. They actually put some thought into, you know, let's make them not carbon copies.
Yeah, maybe that is what it is that it just adds some interest so it's not just like a bunch of video game villains running around that look exactly identical to each other. And so they like run into the cafeteria, and I love this. K9 interferes and starts to shoot them with lasers and distracts them so thoroughly that Giles has to say, "Forget the shooty dog thing." Mm-hmm. And he looks so annoyed that he has to point out to them that the actual quarry they need to be worried about have gotten away. And K9 slowly spinning around with his little tube nose, shooting laser somethings. It is pretty adorable. And that was really the moment where I started to like kind of feel for this little tin dog, because he is dedicated in this scene. He's just like, go ahead, I'll cover you.
Yep.
And I really enjoy this whole thing. So they wind up being stuck in the science lab trying to figure out a way to get out. And this is when I think Rose pulls the fire alarm.
Well, there's that kid in there, and the doctor says something about like what can affect bats. And I think it's the kid that smashes the fire alarm.
Is it? I'm going to rewind a little and just call the children, bats. How do we fight bats? Oh, yeah, you're right. There he goes. He elbowed it. He knew. Look at him.
Yeah.
Smarty pants. So they go running out of there because the bats are like basically incapacitated, and Giles like punches a hole through a wall and rips the wiring out.
Yeah.
Which I was just like, that's pretty rad. I just always approve of punching whatever's bothering you. So, that feels like a real cathartic sort of moment. And Mickey goes inside and sees all of these kids that are just like enraptured with this thing on the screen, waving his hand in front of their faces to just like make sure, like, is this hypnotism? Like, what's going on here? And the rest of the crew has gone to the kitchens to get this weird goop, this oil sap sort of stuff that is apparently lethal to them now. And let's see, where is it? Oh yeah, this is when Mickey starts looking around and sees the power cables to all of the computers, and just all of it is plugged into one thing.
That made me laugh.
And all he has to do is pull the one plug.
Yep.
And I love the way that he like shrugs right before he does it. Like,
Yep.
It can't be this easy, but it looks like it's this easy. So I guess I'll just do this, because considering everything that he has seen, there is no reason to think it's going to be that easy.
Yeah.
It's a pretty good moment. I liked it. And I, I'm sure that you would expect that the villains would have put more of a safeguard on it as well. If everything depends on it, you wouldn't just leave it so that somebody can come in and unplug the whole God-creating machine.
They probably didn't think anybody would figure it out.
Yeah, I don't think that they were prepared for the likes of Mickey. For maximum impact, I must be stationed behind the vat. But you'll be trapped inside. That is correct. I can't let you do that. No alternative possible, Master. And so our friend K9 sacrifices himself to be able to shower them with goo.
Yep, and then it
wrong.
explodes.
It does. And the kids outside, for some reason, the curly-haired glasses chubby boy who pushed the fire alarm, somebody asks, did you have something to do with this? And he says yes. And she's like, he blew up the school, which is quite a leap to make. But okay. Apparently
and then they all
he's
celebrate.
gonna be the cool kid now. Yeah. And yeah, that's pretty fun. I also really like how Giles says bad dog, and K9 just very calmly says affirmative. Aw, shit.
Affirmative.
And yeah, then everything blows up, and it's some pretty bad special effects, but that's fine. And then we go to the TARDIS, which Sarah has not been in for ages, and apparently it looks very different inside. And the doctor proposes that she join them. But she's like, you know what? I have spent a long-ass time just waiting for you to come back, And it's time for me to let this go. This is not my deal anymore. And I need to create my own life that does not revolve around you, which I think is smart.
Yep.
And like Rose asks her whether she should stay herself. And Sarah says that some things are just worth getting your heart broken for. Which I like that line, because that is true.
Yep.
There is no way to avoid heartbreak in life, and you just have to decide whether something is actually worth it or not.
That's true. Sometimes your heart can be broken from things you don't expect or people you don't expect. It's not always a love, like a romance situation.
Oh, yeah. Totally. Totally.
One of my biggest heartbreaks was one of my best friends when she decided, because of her evil boyfriend, that she wasn't going to be friends with me anymore. Mm. It was as painful as any boyfriend that broke my heart.
Yeah.
So that's when I learned, like
worse.
Sometimes it's another type of love that can break your heart.
Yeah, I feel like in some ways we're prepared mentally for like romance being a complete like beat down. Mm-hmm. But there's a lot less in pop culture to prepare us for like friendships ending.
Yeah.
Because there's this sort of thing, it's the same as like, you know, having one love of your life. There's a lot of like media out there that acts like if you're friends, then that means it's forever, no matter what.
Right.
And that's not the reality. People grow out of each other and, are, you know, friendships end not necessarily because of a blow up or anything. It just, some things just come to an end, and that's okay. But
yeah, when they fizzle out, it's not as painful.
Yeah. Yeah, I find it interesting the way that we like don't really if it's not a romantic relationship, I feel like in a lot of ways our culture doesn't know how to deal with it.
Yeah.
Do you know
Have you seen Bridesmaids?
Yes.
I feel like the core like point of that movie is that these two friends love each other so much, and the one that Kristen Wiig plays is just really scared of losing her best friend. Mm-hmm. And especially losing her best friend to another best friend.
Right.
I left that movie like really like wanting to spend a long weekend with my girlfriends. Just be like, I love you guys so much. We need to spend more time together.
Yeah, it's undervalued a lot of the time because, like I said, we sort of assume that if we have friends, then that's forever. And you have to work on that. Friendships don't just survive because you still like each other.
Yeah.
It's like a relationship. You need to put effort in and make attempts to hang out and see each other and, you know, keep plans and stuff. And I think that's something that it has, as an adult, really started to materialize, is the fact that some people are not willing to put in the time to sustain a friendship, and it's hard because when you are willing and they're not, it's just like a relationship. That's romantic,
it's a rejection.
You know? Yeah. And I just keep seeing that, especially with poor Owen, because he puts a lot of value on his friendships. It's for him everything. And because, you know, he doesn't have a family in the way that a lot of people do. Mm-hmm. But his friends do. And that can, you know, we place different values on different things based on what we have to fill those holes in other parts of our lives. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. And for me, I'm like, yeah, you know, I'm good. I've got like 3 really close friends. And that's fine. And I don't need to see them. It would be nice to see them. But the landscape has changed so much because of social media as well.
Yeah.
That now we're all sort of like relearning what this means.
Because it feels like you're in touch because of social media. You don't lose touch as easily.
Right.
Because you can, you posted on Facebook and I liked your post, and so we're connecting. But we're not. Right. You still have to make the effort in person to spend time, especially with the people that you knew before social media. It's still really important to be like, okay, I am going to come visit. And it's especially hard when you don't live close to your close friends.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, all of my best friends live somewhere else. And none of them live near each other. So I can't just be like, okay, I'm coming home and I'm going to see everybody. Because they all live all over the place. And it's hard.
Same.
I mean, I don't even see my parents.
Yeah, same on that as well. My mom just moved to fucking Tacoma. She's like,
she did?
I feel like we've had this conversation.
I don't think I knew your mom moved to Washington. I knew she was in Colorado.
She moved to Colorado like 3 years ago. And about 6 months ago, maybe less, she moved to Tacoma.
Ugh.
Yeah.
It's not even Seattle.
Yeah, it's right across, so she can get there pretty easily. Because there's a ferry, I guess. But yeah, it's quite a trek, and I'm not able to drive and see her the way that I was able to when she was in Colorado. So yeah, it changes everything a lot. But Colorado sucked, so what are you going to do?
I'm going there in a couple of weeks.
Well, I hope it's better for you.
I'm going to Denver.
Then it's probably going to be fine.
Yeah, I've never been there. We're going to see Jason's sister and his brother-in-law and their not baby. He's like 2. Our nephew.
It's still a baby.
He is a character. He does not like to wear clothes. It's really funny.
Listen, who fucking does? Let's be real.
Anytime she posts a picture of him where he's wearing clothes, I'm like, I didn't recognize him. He's not naked.
You sound like a real creepster there, Jamie. Watch that.
She knows what I mean. Because I always make fun of it. Like, does that kid ever wear clothes? What the hell? Put a shirt on.
So this is when Sarah says you need a Smith on board.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, because I'm not the tin dog and I want to see what's out there. And Rose looks at the doctor and says no under her breath.
Does she?
Yep.
I didn't see that.
Did. Yeah, she looks over at him and says no.
Does it say that in the like?
It doesn't say it in the thing, but you can clearly see her mouth move and shape the word no.
Oh, Rose. Mickey Smith is adorable and fun to have around.
I mean,
she probably feels like he's going to cramp her style if she wants to flirt with the doctor, but
I think it's a combo of like that, and Mickey wants the doctor to be cut down to size because he's like trying to prove something to Rose, and I feel like that gets really tiresome.
I think it's also for her that she just wants this to be hers.
Yeah, I think that's probably true too. She was willing to share it with this one lady who had already had it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think you're right. And so yeah, okay then, I could do with a laugh. And he looks at her, Rose, is that okay? No, great. Why not? And the doctor, like, kind of smirks and looks at Mickey. And Sarah looks down at the floor, like she realizes that maybe she just put her foot in it. Like, oh, God, I shouldn't have fucking said anything.
I read this room wrong.
It is real uncomfortable. And this is when Rose says, like, what do I do? Do I stay with him? But, yeah, I really feel bad for Mickey because, you know, she doesn't want him here and he wants her to want him so bad. But at the same time, I am, like, fatigued of his not being willing to, like, let go of this because he knows how she feels. She couldn't have been clearer. And he's still not hearing her.
Do you think that this is going to carry on? Or do you think that he's going to see, like, oh, okay, this is an adventure? I'm
hoping that he'll see, but I thought we were shot of him, as they say, at the end of that other episode, and he's still fucking hanging around. So I feel like we aren't going to be able to get rid of Mickey unless he's dead.
What a horrible thing to say.
Listen, I calls him like I sees him. And I sees him as annoying unless he's dead.
I love Mickey.
And really, like, whose fault is that, Mickey? Listen, like I said, I like him. I like him a lot better than I expected to. But yeah, he's horning in a little bit here.
Do you think that he's going to pull an Adam and do something really stupid?
I wouldn't be surprised. Adam did it out of greed, though, and I'm not sure it would be that way for him so much as just stupidity.
Yeah. I don't think Mickey would do anything out of greed.
Yeah. So, we'll see. And then the TARDIS disappears, and right behind it is a brand new canine who's all shiny, and he calls her mistress, which just feels real kinky, and says it's time to head home, and they walk off into the sunset. And this was the moment when I was like, okay, so they definitely had to do a spin-off, right? Come on, these two need a spin-off. And I guess it turns out that is what they did.
Yeah, the Sarah Jane Adventures, I believe it was really, like, definitively geared towards kids.
That's fun. I like that. I wouldn't mind checking that out.
You say that.
She has a good vibe. What?
People had already asked back when I think we're on episode 2 or 3, if we were going to cover the Sarah Jane Adventures. And I was like, guys.
Everybody,
let's just get there,
need
please.
To take a chill pill. Please. All of you, go jerk off or something and get it out of your system.
Like, you're asking about something with a character we have not even seen yet. Like, let's just get there first.
Good God.
And I don't even know how to access the Sarah Jane Adventures. I don't know if it's on
oh, don't worry
Amazon
about that.
Prime
They'll tell you. They'll let you know. But yeah, y'all are like people who go on a first date and want to know, well, what colors would you want for your wedding? Just slow it down and be cool, for God's sake. Well, I don't know. You might have to change your last name because it doesn't really go well with my last name. All right, you know what? I think I need to go home and watch Netflix. Thanks for dinner. But yeah, I just, it's a testament to this actress. I think that I like her as much as I do in such a short time.
Yes.
So that's all I'm saying. And I wish I'd never said anything. I don't want to watch the Sarah Jane Adventures. I take it all back. Forget it, everybody. I never said anything about it. You cannot hold me to this. I will deny it in court. And, yeah, you know where to find us. Facebook.com/Unspoiled
Oh my God.
Twitter at Unspoiled Show. Instagram at Unspoiled Podcast. Do you have anything that you wanted to, any new reviews or anything you wanted to mention? No
new reviews. I have a couple of just interesting little trivia thingies.
Okay.
The unusual turn of phrase, forget the shooty dog thing, strongly echoes the dialogue patterns used extensively on Buffy the Vampire Slayer. This is perhaps an intentional nod because it was Anthony Stewart Head.
I feel like that's a reach.
Could be. But they did say things like that. They did
That's
put
true.
Y's at the end of words that didn't normally have them. This episode notably confirms the fact that the Revival series was a direct continuation of the series' original 1963 to 1989 run and not a reboot, a topic which was then under minimal debate in fandom.
Then under minimal debate. I like that.
And the original, according to the writer of the episode, this episode had a working title of Black Ops, and the original storyline submission for the episode involved the Doctor meeting Sarah Jane while investigating events at an army base near an isolated village. The change of location to a school was suggested by Russell T. Davies, and then the writer clarified in the DVD commentary that the original specification for the script given to an unnamed writer had been for a school, but the writer instead submitted an episode set in an army base, and admitted that writing for Doctor Who was possibly not for him.
Oh. Interesting.
So then Toby Whithouse took over and wrote the script fairly quickly, apparently.
Okay. That's rough. be like, yeah, you know what? This isn't for you. Give me that. I'm going to fix it.
Rose complains that the Doctor leaves his companions behind after a while, but in fact, out of the 32 companions up to this point, only 4 have been left behind. Adam, who got kicked out for bad behavior. Mm-hmm. Jack Harkness, the Doctor's granddaughter, who he believed deserved a better life, and Sarah Jane Smith. All the rest died. Or were separated from him due to circumstances beyond his control, had their memories erased, or decided to leave on their own.
What happened to Jack again?
Well, Jack died, and then Rose, as the bad wolf, brought him back, and then they left him, kind of, on that space station.
Wow, okay.
I don't know that they knew he had, like, come back to life, though, because they never saw him after. Like, she sort of did that little magic-y thing with her hands, and but Jack was in a different room, so they may not have known that that revived him.
All right.
And
yeah.
Apparently there is an episode where the Doctor and Sarah Jane see the Loch Ness Monster or meet the Loch Ness Monster, and I am quite interested in that, and I would like to see that.
Yeah, I forgot about that scene where they're comparing notes because she's saying, I've seen things you can't even imagine. And Rose is just like, come the fuck on. I've been here too. But then when she says Loch Ness Monster, that's the thing that makes Rose stop and go, seriously? And then she like claps a hand over her mouth like, shit, I wasn't supposed to say anything.
My friend Jamie, who was my roommate for 7 years, she went to Scotland a bunch of times, but one time she actually went to Loch Ness, and she was convinced that she was going to see Nessie. And I was like, what makes you special? People have been trying to see this damn thing forever. And she's like, I just feel it. I'm going to see it. She did not see it. She came home disappointed, but she brought me a bookmark that was Nessie.
That is a very good story, Jamie.
Just saying. She was really convinced.
You started it off like she was convinced she was going to see it, and I'm waiting for some, and then
nope.
She did not see it, but she brought
there's
me a
no
bookmark.
such thing as the Loch Ness Monster.
Yes, there is. Are you going to sit there and tell me that you don't think the Loch Ness Monster exists? Are you really going to do that right now? Is this how we're ending this episode?
Does Bigfoot exist too?
Yes!
Oh my god.
Absolutely. Now, the Chupacabra, I reserve.
Oh, that's where you draw the line?
Yes.
The little bat creature that eats goats?
He's not a little bat creature. He's
Isn't
big.
Isn't a Chupacabra like a little, like, sort of monkey bat? that eats goats? Did the X-Files lie to me?
Oh God! You know what? I'm just gonna end the show here. Thank you, everybody, very much for listening. Don't at me about.
No, we're not covering any spin-offs.
Oh, that I was actually going to say don't at me about Nessie, because you are not going to convince me that Nessie isn't real. I 100% believe that. And yes, to Bigfoot and most other creatures that live in the depths of places that we haven't explored, I figure are there. And they just don't want much to do with us, because why would you?
No, we're terrible.
We're the worst. So thank you all very much for listening. Make sure to leave a review if you can, since we didn't have any new ones today, and I'm obviously heartbroken about it. Do that and make us happy. Yeah. And we will read it on the show. So
unless it's really mean, then we'll just make fun of it.
If it's really mean in a certain way, I like it better than the good reviews. But it all depends. So don't be too mean. I can take it when you're really mean. But when you're only like kind of mean, that gets under my skin. So, if you're going to do it, just like go for it.
Yeah, I guess. I'm sensitive. Like, I don't want my feelings hurt.
That's fair. All right, guys. Well, thank you all very much for listening, and we will see you next week with a new episode. Toodaloo, motherfuckers.
Bye.
Unspoiled Network podcast.